It's time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Matrix, and Whisperer.
Yes, g'day guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Insight NRL Show. I am the Supercoach Brain and I'm on deck as always every Wednesday or Thursday to bring you the unlimited Q&A episode where we answer all of our subscriber questions for the week ahead for NRL Supercoach. And we've got round 16 on our doorstep, which means that we've got plenty of questions to get through. And of course, if you wanted to become an Insight Unlimited member, you can do so. It only costs you $20. We've dropped the price, $20 for the rest of the year, all the way through to the end of the NRL season. And of course, you get BBL and you get NBL as a part of your package as well for the rest of the year. So $20, get access to us and everything that we do here at Insight Fantasy Sports. All right. Now, as I said, we get into these questions for round 16, the second major buy, I should say. First major buy is long gone, but we're into the second major buy round 16, which is actually looking to be pretty tricky week for moves, pretty tricky week for trades. So we've got a lot of very relevant questions that we're going to tackle. So let's jump straight into those. And as always, if you're a regular tuner in to this episode, I don't know if that's a word, but it is now, then you'd see that we put the questions up on the screen every single day, every single time. So we'll do that again for you so you can see them. And obviously, if you're listening to us on audio, I will do my best to talk you through them. And the first question here is from HZ Parker. With 13 trades left coming into this round, do I trade both Latrell and Drinky? Trell to Tedesco is the plan because Drinky will play next week, but I'm open to trading both. What do you think? Now, first of all, good question, very relevant one for this week. We spoke on Tuesday, on the Tuesday pod, and we spoke about trading Latrell out this week and him being a sell. The reason for that was that basically he's only going to play one game in the next 4. With the Rabbitohs bye in round 17 and him being selected for Origin, it's hard to see him being dropped now after being selected and after game 1's loss. I would say they'll pick and stick with him for game 2 and 3 after the big kind of spectacle that is Latrell Mitchell getting picked in game 2. So I think trading Trell out this week is probably an advantage move. Obviously if you've got like sub 12 trades and you've been going balls to the wall with trades and max trading all year, I'd probably think twice about trading Trell out. You probably can't afford to, but if you've got like 14, 15 plus trades this week, I reckon. So trading Trell and Drinky this week. We spoke about Drinky also being a sell. It looks like in terms of price, his price is topped out. He's got a plus 100 break even. The Cowboys have the 16 and the 19 buy, so they don't play any of the major buy rounds moving forward, and also have Penrith in round 17. So a pretty tough run there. When you're playing against Penrith, you can nearly write off most fullbacks, I guess, for the most part. Unfortunately, as good as Drinky's been this year, it's not often we talk about trading out a guy that has a 5-round average of like 90. But I think it's time for Drinky to go. He's done his job. And you want to maximize the amount of players you have available for round 16 through to 20. So, Drinky has to fall on his sword there, I think. But I would be open to trading both. I guess if you're already thinking about doing Trell to Tedesco, then do you need to trade Drinky? Probably not. It's not like you need to trade him, but I just don't think it's an advantage play to keep him, especially with Penrith coming up in 2 buys. It's kind of like you're only going to get one good score out of him for the next month. I hope he proves me wrong for Cowboys fans out there, but I don't know whether he will. So who would I get? I don't know. I'd probably play around with Jules a little bit and maybe attack centre wing. It's a little bit more of a better position unless you wanted to take a bit of a 4-week punt on Ryan Papenhuyzen coming back, as the Melbourne Storm have a really nice little run here from 16 through to 18. They've got really 3 pretty advantageous games. If I bring up the draw, and I'll pop it on the screen as I do every week. So we'll look at 13 to 20. I'll get the banner off the screen very quickly, and we'll see here that the Storm have Canberra this week at home at Amy Park. We've got the they've got the Dolphins this week away at Suncorp. Then they've got Canberra at home, and then they've got the West Tigers away again. So 3 really nice matchups. Even though the Dolphins are a top 8 team at the moment, they're definitely not a top 8 defense. So And again, the Tigers away, it doesn't really matter where they play them. That's a really nice matchup in itself. So this little 3-week run for the Storm, if you've got trades up your sleeve and you can afford to get to Ryan Papenhuyzen for a little maybe 3 or 4 week play, and then you can potentially move him on in round 20 and move him back to Latrell. Hopefully he makes enough cash in that short little period there to go back to him. I know a lot of people are a little bit concerned about what Ryan Papenhuyzen's prospects are in terms of re-injury, and that is a concern, that is a worry. But NRL Physio seems relatively confident that that there's not much re-injury risk there, and not much of a lack of return to performance, or that will be sped up and it will come back pretty solid pretty quickly. So look, if you're open to getting Pappy, I'd probably do Trell and Drinky to Teddy and Pappy if you can make that work. The cash is there, so cash-wise, you should be able to even have some money in your pocket for next week. So that's probably the way I'd go. Or be open to moving to one of these gun center wings like an Azarko who's fallen down in price. You've got obviously Dom Young and Manu to target this week who have really nice matchups. So that's probably the way that I'd go. The next one, Troz, I need to trade Liam Henry to May at front row forward. Liam Henry to May or Ann May. I think it was Ann May. That's my fault when I typed it up. At front row forward in the next few weeks. Thoughts on nuffing Henry with a dual 2RF front row forward to free up cash to get Teddy? A few questions about freeing up cash to get Teddy in this week. And I did put something on X earlier today saying that if you don't have Tedesco and Fafita, you need one of them. I'll probably argue you need both of them. So, I'll talk about some news on Fafita very soon. But, look, would I nuff Henry? It just depends. If you've got Hughes there, I'd probably rather nuff Hughes and use Henry to get up to a gun. The second part of the question I'll answer very quickly soon, but thoughts on nuffing Henry to a duel to free up cash? Look, at the end of the day, I think if your numbers are okay for 16 this week and your numbers are looking okay for 19, if you're sitting on maybe 11 or 12 players for round 19 and you've looked at 17 and 20s mini buys and you're sitting okay, I don't hate nuffing Henry, or I don't hate nuffing players from here. Ideally, you'd probably wait a little bit closer to 19, 20 just to make sure that we're not absolutely smashed with injuries over the next month. But would I nuff Henry to get if it means getting Tedesco this week? I think you're probably safe to do it because it's a bit of a plus play there to free up that cash to make that happen. I assume you're coming up from a Salmon or an Hero or someone like that. So I don't mind the nuff. And which keeper front row forward would you pick for the run home is a little bit of the tricky question. I guess maybe there's 2 or 3 options. Addin Fonua-Blake is the standout for me, I think. The Waz are playing some good footy. He's a try-scoring front row forward, which are quite rare in this game. But the Warriors do have a round 27 bye, which just isn't. It's not great. Addin Fonua-Blake by far and away is the top scorer by over 80 points at front row forward. And it's just due to injury for guys like, and also with Payne Haas missing games from Origin and things like that. So we're looking at Joseph Tarpany, I also like as an option. He's averaging 62.5. If we go filter by average, we've got Addin Fonua-Blake and then Payne Haas, who is very, very close behind. If you can get Payne Haas and your round 19 numbers are good, I probably still prefer to get Payne Haas for the run home. We just know that he's going to play 55 to 60 minutes every single game. The Broncos are always going to be in the hunt. They're actually playing behind a little bit based on where we expected them to be. So I think Payne Haas is going to come home and finish the year strong. So if you can still get to Payne Haas, he is around the same price as Addin Fonua-Blake, 10K more expensive. So I'd probably still prefer Payne Haas. Then Addin Fonua-Blake, and then probably Joseph Tarpany is a third option, but Joey Tapine up to 650K now. Like the appeal was there at around the 560 mark, but he's a little bit more expensive now. Anybody else, I wouldn't muck around too much at front row forward. I think they're your clear-cut top 3. John O'D, 16 trades left, and after doing Drinky to Papenhuyzen, I have 180K in the bank, but I'm worried I won't have enough cash to get Cleary and Gus in the next month. And I'm in the same situation at the moment. Is Smithies to Porter a good idea, or should we nuff? Now, there is some news that just came out, and a couple of the good lads in the Discord popped this one into the chat, talking about John Bateman and Isaiah Papali'i's availability, and it seems that John Bateman is set to return next week, which throws a bit of a spanner in the works considering his initial timeline was around 18 to 20. So he's coming back early from that pec injury. And Isaiah Papali'i and a couple of the other Tigers, Bud Sullivan, Tupou, etc., are 3 to 4 weeks away. So look, Samuel Afainu's locked down the edge role there. I would say that John Bateman will come back in at edge as well, unless they play him at lock. I don't think they will, but they might. So there's a lot more risk now picking up Porter. As much as I 2 days ago thought that Porter was a fantastic option, I'm a little bit concerned now. I'm a little bit worried because with Porter, he's starting on the edge. He played 70 minutes last week, which was huge, and scored, I think, 40 or 50 or whatever it was. But he could easily drop back to a bench role with Bateman coming back before Papali'i. So Bateman will start, of course, and then we might see Porter drop back to a bench role. He did play 20 minutes on debut in his first game there for the Tigers 2 weeks ago. So there is a little bit more AE nightmare risk now for Porter. So if you're asking me what I do right now, I'm probably leaning towards a straight enough rather than Porter, especially if you've got the numbers this week. If you don't have the numbers this week, it does maybe cause concern. But in saying that, the good thing is Porter will probably drop out of this team when Isaiah Papali'i, at worst case, is back in 3 to 4 weeks' time. So I wouldn't be counting on Porter to play around 19's major bye, and I would probably expect him to drop out within the next 2 to 4 weeks out of this Tigers team completely. So I don't think he's going to be a long-term AE nightmare. If anything, it might just be a 2 to 4 week issue. And if you need the number, I still think it's okay. But if you don't need the number this week, I do not think Porter is a play. I think you're better off just going to a dual instead of just a straight 2RF for Porter for the number. I'd get a front row forward 2RF dual or something like that to nuff out. So that's probably my advice now with Bateman being back so soon. I would be probably erring towards the side of caution with Ruben Porter, unfortunately. So is Smithy, to answer your question, is Smithies to Porter a good idea? I'd rather nuff, mate. I think it's time to nuff it. Miles Martin is an option with the front row forward duel, so go in that direction, I think, mate. Bray, 888, 18 trades left, a few more than some, including me. Currently have Teddy and Trell, who are the best options to trade Latrell to when he's sharp, worth a gamble to free up money to allow a trade back to the keeper for the run home. First of all, if you've got Teddy and Trell, I actually think that's the best run home fullback duo in the competition, based on draws and things like that. I think they're both going to finish red hot. So who are the best options to trade Latrell to based on the fact he's only playing one game in the next 4? I would probably still say Pappy and free up some cash. Like Pappy for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Look, Latrell to Sharp would free up stupid amounts of money. Like that is an insane move. And with KP due back around 20, it might be fine. As long as you've got 18 trades, Bray. So I don't hate it. I think that's probably the max amount of trades. I'd want to start playing like fullback roulette and kind of flinging around too many trades. But we do have 12 rounds left after this, or 11 rounds left after this round. So that's kind of 22 trades if you max traded from here with no boosts. So I think 18 trades is fine to go Trell out, and you can go to Pappy, or you can go to Fletcher Sharp for 4 weeks. And then whenever Fletcher Sharp gets punted and KP comes back into this team, I think you could probably then just go back to Trell. Just make sure you have the cash in the bank. And, the advantage is that you've got more trades than most. So I think you probably could do that move. Obviously, with Tom Trbojevic comes back in round 18 as well. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Turbo on the run home and Manly's draw could be nice. I'm still a little bit less convinced than Josh. You would have seen the other night. Josh is pretty keen on getting the Whisper I'm talking about is pretty keen on getting Tom Trbojevic in for the run home. But I'm a little bit less convinced, and I'm a little bit more worried about that re-injury risk with soft tissue injuries. And we know that hamstrings aren't Tom Turbo's friend. So I'm probably leaning towards trying to get Latrell in for the run home. But if you've got that many trades, Bray, I've only got 13 after this week, mate. So you're ahead of me. And so I think you can go back and forth and get Trell for the run home, mate. Dr. Hamo has a bit of a complex trade question, so we'll try and simplify it as much as we can. Trade help. So he's moving on Val Holmes, Liam Henry, and Jack Cole, which are, 3 decent trades. Val, I still think, is going to be a top 5 centre wing for the run home, but I understand why you'd move him with the tough draw, and they've got a few tough games coming up. He will miss 16 and 19 for Origin as well. So he's looking at moving out these 3 guys for either Porter, Teddy Asako, Porter, Pappy, and Dom Young, Porter, Dom Young, and Manu, or the 4th option, which I actually probably prefer the most, is trading Trell out instead of Cole. So just keep Cole there. He's probably he's not going to hurt you because he's not going to be an AE issue. And then obviously you're just going to need cash to get Cole out of your team. But getting Teddy, Dom, and Porter or enough, maybe based on what I just spoke about. This news only on Porter just came out like maybe 5-10 minutes ago on Sorry, on Bateman coming back into the team, so it kind of changes my stance on Porter. But I think Teddy and Dom Young this week could be the play. It could be the way to go. So that's the way I'm leaning, mate. Hopefully that helps you. But usually in true Dr. Hamo form, he'll do the opposite to what I tell him. So we'll see how that goes. Agent Cheese, do I get Haas next week or Joey Tarpany or AFB this week? I already have 15 this week, so the numbers aren't an issue. So I don't necessarily think you need to jump the gun and get Tarpany or AFB this week, mate, if you've got the good numbers. I'd probably just get Payne Haas next week if you've got the cash. I know you mentioned in the message you're 1K short of getting Haas this week. There's no point doing that considering he's an Origin anyway. But it'll allow you to maybe free up cash with a trade next week to then get Payne Haas. Because I think he's only going to miss one more game. He's only going to miss 19. So he's got 17, 18, and then 20 through. I think the Broncos have one more bye in that run home, but I think Payne Haas is the premium pronto forward you're going to want. And then the second part of the question is, do we target Gus Crichton from next week or do we wait until Origin? I have no problem getting Gus in next week if you've got the money. Regardless, if we bring up the draw very quickly on the screen again and we look at the draw for the run home, I'll bring up the 13 to 20 draw first. So the Roosters have the Bulldogs, Tigers and Dragons into the bye for round 19. So again, it comes down to how your round 19 numbers are looking. But Roosters in round 20, they got the Storm. And then you look at the draw for the run home, Manly, Dolphins, Para, Gold Coast, Canberra, Souths, like, woof. I don't necessarily want to be fading Gus Crichton this year, and my plan was to always get him back. So, Cheese, I'm with you on this one, mate. I think we get Gus. You can get Gus from next week, and just cop the fact that you're going to miss 19. Maybe he doesn't even back up in round 17 next week, and he saves us a trade, and we can get him in round 20. That's the way I'd play it. But find out more. But I think you can if he's named to play next week. I think you can grab him, knowing that he's only going to miss 2 more games for the rest of the year. Phil T is asking, Garrick and Holmes out for Pappy and AFB. I'll be able to buy Garrick back in a couple of weeks, or do I trade out Holmes and Sam Hughes, I'm assuming, for Teddy and Porter? Let's just every single question moving forward, we sub Porter out with enough. Because I think I'm not set on Porter unless you need the number. So if you need the number for round 16, Porter's still fine this week, but don't expect him to play 19, and he might be a little bit of an AE issue maybe over the next 2 to 3 weeks before IPAP comes back. I don't like trading out Garrick, Phil. So I'm leaning towards your second option, but then just nothing out a player that's not really going to hurt you too much. Luro, who would you sell out of Dom and Manu to fund Teddy? I have a lot of Roosters stocks and I feel like they're going to steal points from each other. I mean, I don't necessarily agree about stealing points from each other. I think I personally, my team actually at the moment has Dom, Manu and Teddy. I'm not overly worried about it if I'm completely honest. I think that we know that Teddy will get his points. He'll get his own. Manu's been a little bit slow the last couple of weeks, but I feel like that's only a matter of time before he picks up again. And we know how dominant that right side is for the Roosters. So if Manu's scoring points, I'd be very, very surprised if Dom Young wasn't also scoring points. Manu's got that little flick pass and he's been playmaking a little bit more this year. He's been using and getting the ball to Dom Young on the right a little bit more. And I'm not worried about Teddy kind of losing points to Dom or Manu. So I don't think Dom Young and Manu are going to steal points from each other. I think they're fine. But who would I sell if I had to pick one? I'd probably still... It's actually a really tough question. I'm probably struggling to answer it with any sort of statistical basis, but based on feel, I kind of feel like Dom Young is the sell out of these two, purely based on the fact that we just know what Manu can do and we know how big of a play and how big of a guy he is in this team and how big of a focus he is for the Roosters. They always want to get the ball in his hands. They want to get it in his hands early. So I feel like if there's anybody that's going to kind of catch a cold, or if Manu goes back to little glue hands Manu that we know from the last couple of years, then I think maybe Dom Young could suffer a tiny bit. So yeah, if I had to trade one and you had a gun to my head, I think it'd be Dom Young. And but I'd want to keep Manu regardless. But I think you can hold all three, mate, to be honest with you. The Dub247 is asking, do I trade Lomax to Teddy? I have Manu and Young already and Garrick and Edwards at fullback, and I'm currently short on funds. Look, I think Lomax is a top 4 centre wing. I don't necessarily know why. Everyone's kind of stressing about getting Teddy, and I agree. You should be trying to get Teddy. But trading Lomax to Teddy, I don't know whether that's the answer. Yes, Lomax will miss 16 and 19, and he'll only, they've got the bye this week anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Lomax will back up in all of these games. Dragons are looking decent. If we filter very quickly by centre wing, I don't know how many other, Lomax is the top centre wing by a fair margin. He's 82.8 average. He's 50 points, he's the second highest scorer behind Val Holmes at centre wing. I wouldn't be trading Lomax, mate. I'd probably be trying to find another way to do that, even if you have to nuff a player, a 2RF and get enough or get a front row forward enough or something to create the cash. I don't think I'd be trading Lomax out, man. That seems as good as Teddy's been and as great as Teddy is, I think it's still a little bit sideways. So, based on the fact that Lomax's goal kicking gives him a little bit of a bump. Cracker is asking, is it a good week to pivot Tamari Martin to Jerome Hughes? I only have one premium fullback. So the first part of this question, I am trading Tamari Martin out this week. Tamari Martin will be a trade out. I won't, I guess maybe to let everybody know what my plans are. I've actually had Tamari Martin at fullback for a couple of weeks now when I got Jerome Hughes in a couple of weeks ago. So do I think Tamari Martin to Jerome Hughes is a good trade? Absolutely, I do. Based on the Storm draw as well, I tell you, the Storm could go on a run here the next 3 weeks. Jerome Hughes, I would not be surprised if we come back in 3-4 weeks' time and Jerome Hughes has averaged 100 in the last 3 weeks. So, would I do that trade? Absolutely, I would. Now, Cracker's only got one premium fullback. I think at the moment it's okay. I'm getting Teddy this week, so I don't. I've only got one premium fullback as well. I've still got Garrick at fullback. Sorry, I've got to get Garrick back up to centre wing somehow. So I'm going to have to find some cash, but I'm in a similar situation. So the second part of this question, is it crazy to trade Preston to Porter or enough? And Armstrong to Sharp. Need cash and we'll have 655K next week for the run home to get these guns back in. Armstrong to Sharp, if you can make that work via Jules next week, that's handy. I wouldn't be making that trade until next week. There's no need to do that. But Preston to Porter to free up the cash. I haven't heard a timeline or an update from Gus Gould or anything on Jacob Preston, but it was 2 to 4 weeks, that timeline. So, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But, Tamari Martin to Jerome Hughes is great. If you want to nuff out Preston this early on, I just want to make sure that I had enough depth in my 2RF that I didn't have to rely on a player for round 19 or I wasn't getting Porter for round 19 because I don't think he's going to make it, unfortunately. Velcro Wallet Guy, is Porter a definite enough player? Is there a likelihood he becomes an AE nightmare? Well, hey, look, based on the news that came out, there was a tweet that came out very, very recently that, I mentioned at the start of the pod that John Bateman's due back next week. So I think that he's not a definite enough anymore. He will play this week and he'll be a number for you this week if you're struggling. But like I mentioned, don't expect him to play around 19 and maybe expect him to drop back to the bench from next week when Bateman is back in the team, which is a concern because he might become an AE nightmare for a couple of weeks there before he does drop out of the team completely. But I do think he will drop out of the team completely at some point in the next month. John O.D., do decoy runners get try contribution points? And if not, do you think they should? Or at least some sort of possible future category? When you're talking about decoy runners, I'm assuming you mean like block plays and line runners and stuff that, for me, do I think that they should get try contribution points? No. I think that the player that's holding the ball and passing the ball and, we're already giving the try assist to the sweeping fullback just because they're creating an overlap. They're doing everything off the ball and creating the overlap. We're already giving the try assist to a fullback in that situation, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think it should be the player that does the most work. But do I think decoy runners should get contribution points? No, I don't think we need to create more points in a game. I think that they've got the scoring pretty spot on, minus a couple of things. I won't share all my thoughts on the scoring, but I think that it's fine the way that it is. If you're a decoy runner and you're constantly becoming a decoy runner and yet they're using you as a decoy. I know they've done it in previous years a lot. I know in Isaac Tungor's first or second year, I think he ran that unders line and they hit Viliami Kikau out the back. And the amount of times that they scored off that play and Isaac Tungor cut back in and run the unders line as a block play, and he obviously got nothing. That's just part of Supercoach. That's just part of the game and understanding the game and looking at players like that, like Isaac Tungor that year when Viliami Kikau ate. And I would probably just avoid guys like that, really, if they're going to be used as the decoy more often than not. It just creates an element of tactics or an extra element of tactics that you have to take into consideration with player roles more than anything. So, no, I don't think we should be giving contribution points, mate. And the most important question of all, there's always a lifestyle question in here at some point. What number do you cook your toast on? Now, there was actually a little bit of a discussion in the Discord when this comment came up, or this question came up, and a few people weren't aware, or maybe a couple of people weren't aware, that the number on the toaster isn't the amount of kind of cook, like the amount of level that toast is cooked. It's actually the time, the minutes that the toast has been cooking. Now, I want to challenge this, because I've owned 2 toasters very recently in the last probably 2-3 years. Now, one of them had a max level of 5 to 6, and this one my one that I have now has a max level of 9. So I cook my toast on 7. I'm not a burnt toast guy. If anything, I'd probably rather it a little bit underdone, so it's a little bit softer. It's not too hard and crunchy. That's not me. I'm a softer toast kind of person. So I cook my toast on about 6.5 to 7. But that is nowhere near 6.5 to 7 minutes. I'll give you the red hot tip, and I might even just time it tomorrow morning when I put the toast in, and I'll see what comes out, because I'm not 100% sure whether it is time on some brands, because how can you have your max level toast at 9 on one toaster and then the max level on 5 on the other one? Because I used to have my toast on like 3.5 on one toaster, and now it's on bloody 6.5, 7. So let me know in the comments what you cook your toast on, but also, more importantly, let me know if you agree with me on the fact that it could be inconsistent, the number on the toaster. I want to know what your maximum level on your toaster is. How about that? Drop that in the comments, because I'm interested to know. I reckon we could be debunking a bit of a fad here. But yeah, I'm a soft toast guy. 6.5 to 7, Hamo. Hopefully that answers your question. Guys, that wraps us up. That's 27 odd minutes of me talking a bit of gibberish, but there's a fair bit going on this week ahead of round 16 of NRL Supercoach. We thought we had a really good enough play, and now there's some question marks around it. Everybody's doing everything that they can to get Tedesco in. So, we're potentially even ripping our teams apart and moving on guys like Dom and Manu and Zach Lomax to get Tedesco in. So there's going to be some very interesting point of difference plays that are going to happen over the next few weeks. You could trade out Lomax and he goes ballistic. You could trade out Dom Young to get Teddy this week, and Dom Young gets a HIA in the first 10 minutes. So you just don't know. And NRL Supercoach is a very funny game, just a sport in general. Anything can happen. So good luck this week, guys. Again, before we wrap up, if you do want to become an Insight Unlimited member and get all of your specific questions answered on the podcast every week, you can do that. Only costs you $20 for the rest of this season. Also gets you BBL and NBL Supercoach content access, where you get access to us, our final trades, all of our thoughts regarding Supercoach. All of the late mail and news comes exclusively to our Unlimited members every single week as well. So you get everything that we have to offer, as well as injury updates as they come through. So, guys, that'll do from me. Thanks for listening and watching. Good luck this week. Hopefully we can get out of round 16 unscathed and come into that last little period of these major buy rounds in a good spot. All right, good luck this week. Have a good one.